What's up, everyone? What a TCG here. I got something special for you guys today. This past week, I actually just got top 8 with, nonetheless, Whitebeard himself. That's right, Whitebeard in set 6 format. Dad is back and he brought the milk, and I'm sure you guys can't wait to get into it, so let's get started. Alright, before we even get started, I do want to shout out my teammate Garrett Farrington. This list is his entirely. He gave it to me the night before the event. I wasn't sure what I wanted to play for the event, and I was in between a bunch of different decks, and he sent me this list because I was thinking about Whitebeard and I hadn't play tested it at all for the format, and I asked him what his current Whitebeard list was, and he sent it to me the night before. If I didn't have a list ready for the event, I would not have played this at all, and I wouldn't have topped. So huge shout outs to him. It's 100% his list. And yeah, I just want to be very clear on that. I actually submitted this list 10 minutes before the event started, or before event lists were due. Like at the event, they were due at like 9:30 a.m. and the event started at 10. So I submitted this list at like 9:20. And that's how in between I was for lists for this event. So if I didn't have this, I wouldn't have played it at all. But yeah, now that I have that out of the way, yet again, thank you so much, Garrett. I wouldn't have been able to top if I wasn't playing this deck, probably. So, but nonetheless, let's get into it. So start off with 3 Whitebeard. Me and Garrett, we play this deck a lot, and then we've just kind of come to the consensus that 3 is the perfect amount. If you play it at 4, you see it too much because there are games where you just can't play it or you don't want too many of them. So we think 3 is the perfect amount. A lot of people will just kind of jam 4, but we are very much believe that 3 is the perfect amount. For Ace, this card is like probably the best card in the deck, honestly. Like, I know Ninebeard is like insane and the thing that like makes this deck what it is, but the on 7 Dawn Curve, the aggression play, being able to clear out board, going in fast, have like such a big strong body left over. If you have 1-drops on board, being able to like -3 to 5Ks on board and then swing into those, being able to reduce blockers to make it so that they can't like block with them and then counter out them and protect them. Like if they have like 2 Sabos on board, if you minus the 2 Sabos and then you start going like 5, 6, 7, they can't just like block the 5 and the 6 with them and then like counter out a little bit. Like those are gonna die. So it really puts your opponent on like a like in a really scary situation. There was a during the tournament, I actually played against a Uda player, Green Uda. His board was 2 blocker Luffy's, 1 blocker Uda, the 3-drop from the starter deck, and then he had a 8-drop kit on board. And then my board was a it was like Rush Luffy and Leader or something like that. I can't remember. I had like 2 bodies on board maybe, and then I slammed down the Ace, and I minused one of the Luffy blockers, and I minused the 8-drop kid, and then I was able to kill both Luffy blockers and then 1 blocker Uda. And then he kept the 8-drop kid alive, but he had no hand after that, and I was able to just win the game off of that. And just having something like this, being able to have like a very strong searchable in-deck answer to like something like 8-drop kid is really important for any deck in the format, because 8-drop kid is still around and people play it, and if you don't have an answer in your deck for it, like you will just kind of auto lose. So this is just such a strong, versatile, overall amazing card. Next up is 4 Rush Luffy, one of the best red cards ever. Just being able to slam this on your 3rd turn, getting Rush is super good. Just 5/6 all around is amazingly statted for a rusher. And the blocker is still really prevalent. Black plays so many blockers, so just having like something where if they like because a lot of the time black players, especially Sakazuki, won't have a lot of cards in hand, and then their defensive is from the fact that they can swarm the board with all these blockers. So if you can rush them down to like 0 life, and then they're just hiding behind their blockers with no hand, and then you just slam this down, attach 5 to it, and swing for 11, and hand check them for game, it comes up a lot and it wins a lot of games. They're also really scared of it, so a lot of the time they'll put like a lot of effort into killing this card right away, and then when like an ace and Ninebeard come down, they've like used a lot of their responses to this card right here, so they might not have the out to them. Next up is for Marco. This card is still really good. I know a lot of people have been playing around not playing this card at all, but his pop effect isn't as prevalent anymore, especially since Zoro's not in the format, but Branu still sees a lot of play, and especially against Sakazuki, people just will Hellhound, bottom deck your thing, give +3 to a Branu and swing 6, and that is still like really annoying. I've lost plenty of games before to like just Branu beats, and being able just to slam this down, pop the Branu. The other really important part about this card is the resurrection effect. If you're playing against Gecko Moria, they don't have an answer to this. I played against a Gecko player, and then he popped it twice on the same turn, and then I just discarded 2 events and it stayed alive. Also really nice, unlike an L, this card dies and then resurrects, so it comes back with back as a 5 cost, so the black player will have to reduce it still, so they just put a lot of resources trying to kill this. Sakazuki, they have the bottom deck option, so against them it's not as good, obviously, but they play Rebecca, so being able just to play this down, pop a Rebecca blocker is still really nice against that matchup. Not a lot of Gecko Morias play that card, but like sometimes you'll run into a Gecko that plays it, and it comes up. And then sometimes the Sakazuki player doesn't even have a bottom deck option, and they have to like use Rob Lucci to pop this, and then you're just like, oh cool, just discard, keep the body on board. Keeping bodies on board against black is super nice. A lot of the time you just kind of expect anything that you play dies the next turn, so being able to have like a body that you know is going to guarantee stay on board is super important, especially with how much destruction is in the format and how impactful Gecko Moria and Sakazuki are. Next up, for blocker Marco, kind of same reasoning, just having a body that you can resurrect if they put resources into killing this card and then bringing it back, and that's like kind of the best part about this card, like as blocker, but it never ends up being used as a blocker because it always pops and then comes back as rested. But just having like a body that comes back resurrected, it has 1k counter, it's searchable, that's like the important part of the card. Also, there's games where it like we got into like a really simplified game state where both of us had like almost no resources. The black player didn't have, like, black player has like 1 or 2 cards in hand, and then I'm able just to kind of like slam this down and then actually use it as a blocker. And then it's not like a low cost blocker, like it's not like a 1 or a 2, so they still have to like use an event to pop it. Like they need to have like 2 cards to be able to pop this card, and then so if like they're going for game and I'm able to make them use like 3 or 4 Dawn just to pop the blocker before they can go for game, that's really nice. And then sometimes they might just not have it, and then I'm able to do it. And then in the middle, or mid game, like if I'm playing like Gecko, for instance, and they're popping it, and I'm able to like discard and resurrect it, it's really nice. Next up are 2Ks, Jozu, searchable 2K, has rush, sometime, it almost never comes up, but like just having like a 2K that like if you need to, like you can literally just win the game off of it, because like I'm going for game and I have the, like, even though it's like not a well-statted rusher, a rusher's a rusher, so being able to play a rusher for being able to attach the Dawn to it, it can be a 5/5 rusher, essentially. Next is Sanji. There's a lot of options for Straw Hat 2Ks. I think this is the best one for the deck, because being able to play like a 2 drop body that can go up to 7 is really nice. If you don't have like a lot of options early game and you just need to have a body on board and then speed up the game, this card's really good. Taking your own life isn't like as impactful in Whitebeard as some other decks, so like just having the body that's able to swing really fast is super nice. Next up, Makino. This is the only non-Straw Hat or Whitebeard card in the deck. This card is amazing. Being able to make your 1-drops like aggressive. If you have like a 1-drop that's kind of been sitting on board all game doing nothing, and then randomly you're going for game, and then you have like 2 Makinos in hand, and being able to use 2 Dawn to make that an 8k attack is super prevalent. A lot of people are playing like Pudding in their decks now to counter Whitebeard, and like being able to like drop these early game and then keep your hand low and then still go super aggressive is super nice. There's like one game where I went second, and then I played down two Searchers, and then the next turn I went like play a Makino on my 4-on curve, tap, give one of my Searchers 3, made it a 5, swung for 5, used my other 3 Dawn, gave it to the other Searcher, swung for 5, and then swung for 6. So on turn 2, I'm attacking 5/5/6 into like Gecko. It was Sakazuki actually. So that's super good. Being able to be that fast and that aggressive that early in is insane, and it keeps the deck checked or relevant into these really strong control decks that are everywhere in the format. Next up is my Searchers. So I play the 4 Izo and the 4 Nami. Almost every card in the deck is a Whitebeard or a Straw Hat. It is super important on turn 1 to be able to play a Searcher or just a 1-drop in general. Usually you want to go first in this deck, so just going turn 1 play Searcher, turn 2 attach 3, swing 5, swing 6. It makes your aggression really important. You need to be as fast as possible to beat Sakazuki and Gecko Moria. You are behind. Those are better decks than you, so you need to be as fast and in their face as possible, and these are the tools that allow you to happen. Any card that you can swing with and then also gains you a resource back is super important. Next up, we had 2 Nico Robin. This card is specifically just for the Sakazuki matchup, because Rebecca, having a 1 mana option just to pop the Rebecca and be able to go for game is really important. If not, you'll get board swarmed by Rebeccas and you'll lose the game. And being able to, like, them thinking that they're safe because they're just sitting on a Rebecca blocker, and then you just go, tap 1, play Ace, swing 7, attach one to leader, swing 7, and then like having 1 active Dawn left, and then maybe like having like a Rush Luffy or Marco on board that still, and then being able to like put the pressure on through the Rebecca blocker is super important. Or even when you're going for game, if they're have like 2 blockers up, one's the Rebecca, and then you just for 1 Dawn deal with the blocker, it's super important. Next, this is the weird thing. If you saw the deck list posted already, you probably saw this, but I do play the 1 Sanji. This is incorrect. It should just be a 3rd Nico Robin. But this is the card that Garrett told me to play, so I played it, and I wasn't gonna argue with him because he gave me the list the night before the event, and I wasn't even sure if I was gonna play the deck. The concept is that you just need to be able to have that 1-drop on turn 1. Like I said, it's super important to be able to slam down a 1-drop on turn 1. So just having like a cool body, and then if you have a Makino, you can tap 3 and it swings for 6, and that's like the idea, and it's Straw Hat, so it's searchable. But it should just be a 3rd Nico Robin. The only game I lost the entire day was against a Sakazuki player, and he was able to play like a Rebecca every turn, and he just like chump blocked me. And I like turn 1 of the game, I played Izo, and I checked top 5, and I bottom decked both of my Nico Robins, so I knew I didn't have Nico Robin for the entire game against him. And then I eventually like drew into the Sanji, and then I'm not saying I would have won the game if this was Nico Robin, but I definitely like would have been in the game, because there was a lot of turns where I could have like been really aggressive against them, but I couldn't do it because they just had like a Rebecca sitting there on board and it stopped my attacks. So not saying I would have won that game, but it would have been like possible for me to win that game if this was just Nico Robin. So yes, I was playing it. It never came up once for me to play this. Just make it a Nico Robin. Next events. So, of course, one of the best events in the game. 4 Radical Beam, a 1/4. This card's insane. One of Gecko Moria, the 8-drop, is one of the best cards in the game right now. It swings for 9. This is 10. My opponent on like round 8 swung 9 at me, and I tapped 1 and played Radical Beam, and I was like 10, and then he was like, because people are not prepared for Whitebeard in the format as much as they were in the past, so there's people that aren't, like newer players that didn't have to really deal with red at all in its like glory days, so they don't know this is a card or weren't thinking about it or weren't expecting it. And then a lot of people don't play like defensive events anymore, so if you're like newer to the game and like you're not used to seeing like defensive events, because like I said, no one plays them anymore, then you can really catch players with their pants down. Like I said, he like swung 9 at me, and I was just like, cool, whatever, discard Radical Beam, it's 10. He was like picked up the Radical Beam and read it, which I thought was crazy because it was like round 8 and X1 at this regional. But hey, next up, 2 guard point. It is a 1/3 instead of a 1/4, but still 1 mana counter event, really good. Unlike the Radical Beam, you can use this on like really early game, so if you want to like leave a Dawn up because you think your opponent's going to be able to like swing really big, like if you're playing against Yamato for instance, and you leave like a Dawn up because you know like they're going to go like attach, what is it, they're going to, on their 5 Dawn turn, they'll be like, oh, play Nami, attach 3 to leader, swing for 8. If you leave the 1 Dawn up, this is 9. I did play against a Yamato player and that came up, so really important, just being able to have like kind of like an early game option. If this could just be 6 rad beams, it would probably just be 6 rad beams, but it does have like potential in the early game, and it's Straw Hat and Searchable. And then the last 2 are Bad Manners. This is a 0/3. Now with the way that the format is, you want to go first every game. Before, Whitebeard always wanted to go second, so you would be able to play like your on curve like rusher card, and then you would be able to leave 1 active for defensive purposes. But now you can't do that. You always have to be like you're tapping out every single turn in this deck until like you're at 10, and then you can start leaving Dawn open. But until then, you can't. So early game, if I like play ace down on my 7 Dawn curve, and then I am like having a 0 cost event where my opponent thinks, oh, they're tapped out, so they're not going to be able to defend themselves as well, and then just having this out is really nice, really important. The deck does have like a decent amount of non-counter in the deck, so just having like a utilization to use those cards with the discarding is nice. But yeah. Could this just be 2 guard point? There's like arguments that this could just be 2 more guard point, but I do like the fact that it's bad, like the 0 cost event, like I said, because there's a lot of times that you're tapping out now. So just having like those options for the mid game, for when your opponent like, if you're playing in Sakazuki, for instance, if they like bottom deck your guy and then give +3 to leader and swing for 8, this counters for 9, and then you're able to keep your life up, because keeping your life up is important. All right. So that was the list. Thank you all again. If you like the list, make sure to like, comment, subscribe. Let me know if you guys want to see more lists in the future. Let me know what type of content you guys want to see. I was thinking about maybe, because I was on stream a couple of times during the event, pulling up some of those old stream, or getting the VODs and then reacting to it and then talking about like my actions throughout the game. I thought that might be interesting, but I would have to talk to like PPG and see if they're okay with me using it. But yeah. Thank you guys so much. Like I said, make sure to like, comment, subscribe. Let me know if you like my deck list. Let me know what you would have done differently. And I will see you guys on the next one.